You know that feeling when you get home from work and you're not exactly tired, but you're also not capable of doing anything meaningful? You sit down for a second, you open your phone. Maybe you turn on Netflix or YouTube, not because you're excited about anything specific, but because the idea of making a decision feels exhausting. 2 hours pass, then 3. You look at the clock and realize you've done absolutely nothing you actually wanted to do, and now it's too late to start. You feel this quiet, low-level guilt, but not enough to change anything. So you do it again the next night, and the next. I lived like that for a long time, not because I was lazy or undisciplined, but because I didn't understand what was actually happening in those hours. I thought the problem was motivation. It wasn't. The problem was that I was trying to fight mental fog with willpower, and willpower doesn't work when your brain is already spent. Most people don't waste their evenings because they're lazy. They waste them because the day has already taken the best version of them, and they're trying to operate on fumes without realizing it. Your evening is basically trying to run on a phone at 3% battery while 17 apps are still open in the background. This video isn't about becoming some hyper-optimized productivity machine. It's about 7 specific things I changed that helped me stop feeling like my evenings were just this dead zone between work and sleep. Some of them are small. Some of them are weird. All of them worked when nothing else did. Number 1. I stopped trying to relax immediately. Here's what I used to do. I'd get home, drop everything, collapse on the couch, and tell myself I was decompressing. And technically I was. But what actually happened is I'd enter this low-energy limbo where I wasn't resting and I wasn't doing anything. I was just scrolling or half-watching something while my brain stayed in this uncomfortable in-between state. The apartment would get darker as the sun went down, I'd still be in my work clothes, and I'd feel like I was sinking into the couch. I thought I needed to recover first before I could do anything. That's not how it works. What I changed, I started doing one small physical task immediately when I got home. Not a workout or some big project. Just something that required me to move and engage for 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes it was washing the dishes from the morning. Sometimes it was taking out the trash or changing into different clothes with intention, not just sweatpants. One time I reorganized a single drawer because it was the only thing my brain could handle. The task didn't matter. What mattered was that I didn't let my brain settle into that passive, foggy mode right away. The unexpected effect, it turns out that when you do something mildly active first, even something boring, you reset your energy level in a way that sitting down doesn't. You're not more motivated afterward, but you're more present. Your brain shifts out of work mode without falling into zombie mode. The evening starts to feel like it has a shape instead of just bleeding into nothing. It's like your body needs proof that the workday is over, and sitting down isn't proof. Moving is. What you can try tonight. Pick one tiny task you can do in under 10 minutes the moment you walk in. Don't sit down first. Don't check your phone first. Just do the task. See if the rest of your evening feels different. Number 2. I made a list of evening wins that aren't tasks. I used to think that if I wasn't being productive in the evening, I was wasting time. So I'd make these ambitious plans, read a book, work on a side project, learn something new, and then I'd be too drained to do any of it. I'd feel guilty, scroll instead, and hate myself a little. The problem wasn't that I was lazy, the problem was that I had no middle ground between crushing goals and doing absolutely nothing. There's this whole category of human experience that isn't productive and isn't numbing, and I'd completely forgotten it existed. What I changed. I made a short list of things that felt meaningful to me but weren't tasks or work. Things like cooking an actual meal instead of eating something microwaved, even if it was just pasta and vegetables. Playing music out loud and just listening, not as background noise, but as the thing I was doing. Calling a friend, not texting. Going for a walk with no destination, no podcast, just me and the streetlights. Sitting outside, for 10 minutes and noticing that the air felt different than it did inside. These weren't productive in the traditional sense, but they weren't passive either. They required a tiny bit of presence, and that made all the difference. The unexpected effect. I stopped feeling like my evenings were either on or off. There was this third category, engaged but not grinding. Once I realized I could do things that felt good without being hard, I stopped defaulting to my phone out of exhaustion. The evening became something I looked forward to instead of something I survived. Also, I started sleeping better, which I didn't expect. Turns out your brain needs to know the day actually ended. What you can try tonight. Write down 3 things you can do this evening that aren't work and aren't scrolling. Things that make you feel slightly more human. Pick one and do it. That's it. Number 3. I scheduled the first 30 minutes. This sounds rigid, but hear me out. I used to think routines were for people who had their lives together, and I'd resist structure because it felt limiting. But the truth is, the first 30 minutes after work set the tone for the entire evening. If I made bad decisions in that window, the rest of the night was cooked. If I made decent decisions, everything else flowed easier. Your brain will make whatever choice requires the least effort. And if you're already depleted, that choice is always going to be your phone. What I changed. I decided ahead of time what I'd do in the first 30 minutes after getting home. Not hour by hour for the whole evening, just the first half hour. Some days it was change clothes, make tea, sit outside. Other days it was put on a playlist, tidy the kitchen, start dinner. It wasn't about being strict. It was about removing the decision fatigue in the moment when I was least capable of deciding anything. I wrote it on a sticky note and put it on the door so I'd see it when I walked in, because if I had to remember it, I wouldn't do it. The unexpected effect. Once I stopped treating that first 30 minutes like a free-for-all, I stopped losing whole evenings. Because the truth is, if you scroll for 30 minutes right when you get home, you'll probably scroll for 2 hours. But if you do something intentional, even small, you build a little bit of momentum. Your brain wakes up just enough to make better choices for the rest of the night. The evening stops feeling like something that happens to you. What you can try tonight, decide right now what you'll do in the first 30 minutes after work tomorrow. Write it down. It doesn't have to be impressive, it just has to be decided. Number 4, I stopped eating dinner in front of a screen. This one felt impossible at first because I'd spent years eating while watching something. It was the ultimate decompression ritual. But what I didn't realize is that it wasn't helping me relax, it was just making me numb. I'd finish eating and have no memory of the meal, no sense of satisfaction, and I'd still feel mentally cluttered. I'd look down and the plate would be empty and I'd think, wait, did I even taste that? What I changed. I started eating dinner at a table or outside or even just standing in the kitchen without my phone or a screen in front of me. Sometimes I'd put on music. Sometimes I'd just sit in silence. It felt weird and uncomfortable for the first week, like I was eating in a waiting room. But I stuck with it because I didn't have a better idea. The unexpected effect, eating without distraction, forced me to actually be present for 10 or 15 minutes. And that small window of presence bled into the rest of the evening. I wasn't sharper or more motivated, but I felt more anchored. Like my brain had a moment to actually land instead of staying in this half-distracted haze. Also, food tasted better. Which sounds stupid, but it's true. And I started noticing when I was full, which meant I stopped eating out of boredom later in the night. What you can try tonight. Eat one meal without looking at a screen. Just sit with the food. Notice if it changes how the rest of your evening feels. Number 5. I built in a useless hour. I used to fight against wasting time so hard that I'd exhaust myself trying to be productive every second. And then I'd burn out and waste 3 hours anyway, but now with guilt attached. I realized I needed to stop pretending I was going to be laser focused every evening and actually plan for downtime. The problem with trying to be perfect is that your brain will eventually just give up and take what it needs anyway. And when it does, it'll take way more than you would have given it. What I changed. I gave myself 1 hour every evening to do absolutely nothing useful. I could scroll, I could watch YouTube, I could lie on the floor and stare at the ceiling. The only rule was that I had to decide when that hour was, and I had to actually stop after an hour. It wasn't, I'll scroll until I feel like stopping. It was 7 to 8 p.m. is my useless hour, and then I'm done. I set an alarm. Sometimes I'd ignore the alarm and keep scrolling, but the alarm going off was enough to break the trance most nights. The unexpected effect. When I gave myself permission to waste time in a contained way, I stopped feeling like I was constantly failing. I didn't scroll less overall at first, but I stopped spiraling into 3-hour phone sessions because I knew I had a set time to do it. And weirdly, once I had that boundary, I started wanting to do other things after the hour was up. The guilt was gone, so the resistance was gone. Turns out you can't shame yourself into discipline, but you can schedule yourself into it. What you can try tonight: pick 1 hour tomorrow evening where you're allowed to do whatever brainless thing you want. Set a timer. When it goes off, move on. See if it helps you reclaim the rest of your night. Number 6. I started treating evening energy like a separate resource. I used to think energy was energy. If I was drained at the end of the day, that was it. Game over. Nothing I could do. But I started noticing that I'd be too tired to work on something hard, but I could still cook, or clean, or have a real conversation. I wasn't out of energy. I was out of a specific type of energy. Once I understood that, I stopped trying to force myself to do things that required the kind of focus I didn't have. Decision-making energy burns out first, but your hands still work. What I changed, I divided my evening tasks into 2 categories. Things that need decision-making energy, like working on a project, reading something dense, planning, and things that need physical or creative energy, like cooking, organizing, playing music, drawing, folding laundry while listening to a podcast. When I got home drained from work, I stopped trying to do decision-heavy tasks. I do the other kind instead. I kept a list on my phone so I didn't have to think about it in the moment. The unexpected effect. I stopped feeling like I was failing every evening. Because I wasn't actually incapable of doing things, I was just trying to do the wrong things at the wrong time. Once I matched my tasks to the type of energy I had, my evenings felt productive without feeling hard. I got more done by expecting less from myself. And on the nights when I actually did have mental energy left, I knew it. Because I wasn't wasting it on stuff that didn't need it. What you can try tonight. Ask yourself what kind of energy you have right now. Then do something that matches it instead of something that fights it. Number 7. I made peace with bad evenings. Here's the thing no one talks about. Some evenings are just going to be a wash. You're going to come home too drained or too stressed or too mentally scattered, and none of the systems or habits will save you. And that's fine. The problem isn't having bad evenings, and the problem is thinking that one bad evening means you failed, so you might as well give up and have 7 more. One collapsed evening doesn't erase the pattern, but treating it like it does will. What I changed. I stopped treating every evening like it had to be good. I gave myself permission to have nights where I did nothing, felt nothing, and just survived. The difference was that I didn't let those nights bleed into the next one. I woke up the next day and started fresh. No guilt, no spiral, no, I've already ruined it, so what's the point? I'd literally say out loud, that one didn't count, and then I'd move on. The unexpected effect. Once I stopped trying to be perfect, I was actually more consistent. Because I wasn't carrying the weight of every bad evening into the next one. I could have an off night and not feel like I'd destroyed my entire routine. The bad evenings became isolated events instead of proof that I was failing. Consistency isn't about never messing up, it's about not letting one mess up convince you that messing up is who you are. What you can try tonight. If tonight sucks, let it suck. Don't fight it, just decide that tomorrow will be different. And then actually make it different. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that these 7 things transformed my life or unlocked some secret level of productivity. They didn't. What they did was make my evenings feel less like time I was losing and more like time I was living. Some nights I still scroll too much. Some nights I'm too tired to do anything. But most nights now I don't feel like I'm watching myself waste time anymore. And that shift, as small as it sounds, changed everything. If you got something out of this, let me know in the comments, and if you want more stuff like this, subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.